Well, hi guys, it's that time. It's our Monday miracle story of the day. Yes, this is my second take on trying to do this because I came on and said it's that time, our Bible teaching snippet. I'm going to do that tomorrow, okay? Today I want to start the week off with a really good hard punch. I want to tell you a miracle story. Now I'm going to be looking at my notes because this miracle happened May 28th, 2013. And I'm going to have to look at my notes because I don't want to get anything wrong. I try really, really hard to be very, very accurate. In fact, I ask people to write down details from their perspective and give it to me so I can tell the details as accurately as possible. The last thing I want is to get some details wrong and then people not feel like it's true and not believe the miracle because I didn't give an accurate account of it. You know, that's what they try to do with our Gospels. People will read the Gospels and try to tear them apart and say, well, see, they can't be true because they all don't say exactly the same thing. Did you know if you have 2 or 3 people, witnesses, on witness stands in a court hearing, did you know none of those witnesses will tell the exact same story? Their details will be a little bit different because every person sees things from a different perspective. And that's how the Gospels are. You've got 4 men who saw things from their own perspective, and the Holy Spirit, God, worked with them to get that stuff recorded, but it's from their own perspective. Okay, so let me get back to what I want to tell you about today. So I have one of my good friends. She's considered one of my besties. She asked me to come to her house for this Memorial Day cookout. Now, I'm sure she loves me and wanted me to come just so I can fellowship and eat with everyone. But she also wanted to make sure that I was going to agree to be there because she knew 4 people that she so lovingly wanted to make sure she could hook them up with me and get them healed. I'm going to tell you about this young little boy. He was about a year old, maybe a little bit older, but let's say he was between 12 and 15 months old. And this little fella, from the time he was born, his muscles did not develop and they were like elastic. They were just limp. He could not sit up. He couldn't crawl. He couldn't use any of his hands. He couldn't even move his fingers or anything. His mother would have to prop him up and physically move him in different positions because he was not able to use any of his muscles because they weren't developed and working. He could not swallow. She had to hold him a certain way to feed him this liquid nutrition to keep him alive. And this young lady was the only person who knew how to feed her little boy where he didn't choke because his little throat muscles just would not swallow and take in anything. And it was so, and I saw him one time and he was having trouble breathing. This poor baby, because his muscles are underdeveloped, his lungs struggled to work as well. Anyway, I love the way my friend set this up. We would just slowly go grab somebody and take them in her house privately without all the other people there knowing, take them to a private room and get to minister to them very quietly, privately. And so it wasn't embarrassing. It wasn't a big show. It wasn't something that, it just wasn't weird. It was natural and it was very respectful. So anyway, we carried the baby into a bedroom with his grandmother and my friend and me, and we went in that room and I laid hands on him and I commanded his muscles to work and for his entire body to be completely healed. I laid hands on his throat and commanded those muscles to be healed. And look, guys, I've told y'all this before. I pray in tongues. That's what the church calls it. It's also referred to as a heavenly language. Every believer, if they want it, can receive that and have that. But I pray in tongues over people a lot because it's the perfect prayer. It's the perfect connection between my Father, the Holy Spirit, and the sick person. And I'm just the person making sure it gets delivered. And praying in tongues is an awesome way to make sure that that perfect connection is made. Well, here's the miracle. That night, his mom takes him home to give him a bath. And while she's holding him up, bathing him, she notices his little feet and toes are beginning to move and work. This has never happened before because they just lay limp, just like that. But now they're sitting straight up and he's starting to move them and wiggle his toes. By the next day, he was able to sit up by himself without her, because she had to keep him laying down on his back or his side, just kept rolling him over in different positions, similar to how people do when someone is bedridden and very sick. You know, they'll be laying on their back for an hour or two, and then you move them on their side, and that way they're not laying in one position. And that's what this lady was doing with her little baby boy. But he was also able to swallow and eat normally. A couple of 3 months later, I got a phone call, and I was asked to come back over and pray for this little man again. And this time it was so he would use his vocal cords to talk, because he still wasn't talking. Even though he was up crawling and using all of his muscles, he was not using his vocal cords. So I got to go back and pray over his vocal cords. And yes, you're absolutely right. He did start using his vocal cords. So that's my miracle story today. You know, you have no idea how precious it is to be able to lay hands on a little baby and see them get healed and know that you are part of God's big plan of bringing the kingdom of heaven, what's going on in heaven, down here to earth to people who need God and they need heaven to come near to them and affect their lives in such a profound way. But this little man now, I guess this is 2017. This little boy is about 6 years old now. So guys, tomorrow I'm going to do a Bible teaching snippet. But for now, I'm going to let you go. I'm going to say I love you, and I'll see you again right here on Facebook. Bye-bye.